your relationship and the romance in your relationship is really like a living thing. That probably sounds like, oh my goodness, how can I add anything else? I mean, both people really wanting to be with each other. Hi, and welcome to another episode of the Talk Love with Carol show. Today we're talking about parenting while preserving romance. Is that mission impossible, or is it possible? I'm Dr. Carol Henry, and I'm a psychologist and relationship coach. I help committed couples whose relationship needs some remodeling so they can talk with their partner about anything and everything and feel much more connected and happy. So, parenting and keeping romance alive seems impossible for lots of the clients I've worked with over the last 30 years. It seems to them that the idea of romance just doesn't go along with parenting. It doesn't seem compatible. And when they consider this, they wonder, how did this happen? We used to really feel a lot of love for each other and connection and excitement about being together. And it just doesn't seem to be there anymore. We thought having children would make us happier, not more distant. And of course, having children does make you happy in so many ways. But they didn't know how hard and time-consuming it could be. And they devoted most of the time and energy to their children. And I shouldn't say they, I can say we too, leaving little left for the relationship. Does this sound familiar? Do you ever look at your partner or your spouse and ask yourself, what happened to that excitement I used to have about spending time with my partner? When's the last time we truly enjoyed spending time with each other when we weren't exhausted or frazzled or preoccupied with worries about something? When during our time together, we weren't talking about kids' tantrums or who's picking up who from soccer, or should we let him go on a camping trip when there would be girls there? Or should we let her get her license with the bad grades she's had? So that's kind of what so many parents, even if they grab a date night, they talk about. And they realize after, we just talked about the kids. That wasn't even connecting us. Yeah, we connect in our concern, our worry, but that's not the point. So, by the way, if you're multitasking, come back to me now. Listen to this. If any of these scenarios resonate with you, parenting while preserving romance may seem to be mission impossible, but there's hope. Like your garden and your house plants, if they don't get water, they're not fed, they're not nurtured, they wither. The same idea goes along with romance in your relationship. Now, that may seem like kind of an odd comparison, but your relationship and the romance in your relationship is really like a living thing. It changes all the time, and everything you do or don't do has an impact on it, right? You know that. So if you can look back on your relationship and you can mentally track the decline of romance, where you used to have it and now don't anymore. Hear this. You can stop the train before it gains any more speed. The train of romance leaving. You can do some things, specific things to inject energy and romance into your relationship. Now, I'm not saying this is easy peasy. It isn't, because what we're talking about, and probably what you're thinking right now is, yeah, right. I got so many other things. How is that possible? But what I'm saying is you can write a new chapter of your relationship so that you can now be doing some certain things that are laser focused on including intentionally and on purpose some mindsets and activities that enhance romance. Again, that probably sounds like, oh my goodness, how can I add anything else? And that's legit. But if romance, and by the way, I want to remind you, with romance, I'm not just talking about making love. I'm talking about being excited to be together, longing to spend time together, actually making some time to spend time together. It doesn't have to be big amounts of time. It could be, if you can do that, oh, perfect. But you can do small episodes of quality time, and that will have the same impact. In fact, I'm thinking of a couple I worked with recently, and they were struggling with their relationship. They really felt distant, a lot of distance, and sort of the resentment and sadness that goes along with that. They went away for a 3-day vacation without having done any things to build their romance before that. And they had a terrible time. They had some of the same stuff go on that was their patterns in their relationship. But another couple that I worked with, again recently, went away for a couple of days. And because they'd really set the intentions and really decided we are going to do everything we can to reignite our romance, they had a wonderful time. They did a lot of activities together, and really felt like it bonded them. So it's very possible. And it requires you to look at your priorities and make some adjustments. If your relationship is a top priority, you'll have to figure out how to move things around so that you spend some time together. And I just gave examples of big weekends. That's not necessary. In really almost all the hundreds of couples I've worked with, nearly all of them could find small amounts of times at first and then bigger amounts of time later for each other, for reigniting their romance, and they enjoyed it. It doesn't take a lot of time. It takes quality time. And by the quality, I mean both people really wanting to be with each other. They're not on their phones. They're not preoccupied with work issues. They're occupied. They're attentive to each other and being together and doing everything they can to enjoy that time. So here's a few easy examples, because this may sound, I imagine it just still sounds like, impossible. Here's a few examples. Some of these are from my relationship when my kids were younger. Now they're not younger. But it's some from the couples that I've worked with. Okay. Number one, when your child, let's say your child has soccer practice. My kids had that a lot. So instead of just going and then come home, make, do the dishes or whatever, what about you both go? Now, this is if this is your only child, or the rest of the children are old enough to stay home alone. What about you both go and drop the kid off and go to a cafe and have the beverage of your choice and talk about stuff, not kid stuff. Just catch up. How was your day? What are you thinking about? Because so often we don't even have time to do that, or we don't make the time. Okay, that's number one. So find times that, you can, in a way, multitask, but not at the same time. You are dropping the child off at soccer and you're connecting with your partner. Okay. So number two idea, after your kids are asleep, have a romantic dinner once in a while, where it's just the two of you. You're not managing anybody's table manners or trying to have to feed them or whatever. You're just spending that time together. And another one, have a date night. That really makes a difference. Date night is, everybody says, oh, we need a date night or do a date night. But you should do a date night. But make sure that you're not going to fall into the pit of talking about your kids' tantrums or whatever. Or, are we going to let our son go out on that, go to that camp out that is going to have girls? Or are we going to let our daughter, who has terrible grades, get her driver's license? Things like that. No, you want to talk about things about you. What are we hoping for the future for us? How can we get some of that back that we had, get that juice, get that excitement back? Another idea, check in with each other frequently about what they're grateful for, and you share what you're grateful for. Now, how does that help? It does, because it gets you thinking about positive things and wanting to share them with your partner. And that really creates more closeness. Rethink, a next one, rethink about your partner's love language. And remember, the love languages, I hope I can remember, quality time, words of affirmation, acts of service, physical affection, and gifts. I did. Think about which one or ones are most important to your partner, and do one. Talk to them in that language. If it's acts of service, do something for your partner. None of these take a lot of time. They're just ways that you can influence the reigniting the romance. They add lots of good feelings and closeness. And that's part of what romance is, right? So because I always want to have an action that you can do about what I've been talking about, I suggest that you do one of these things or something similar. You don't have to do any of the things, but do something similar that you know is going to make your partner happy. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point. And you do that, or do one of the things I mentioned, or something just like that. That's great too. So do that. Don't just think about it. Remember, when you're listening to what I say or what anybody says, or when actually you say, "Oh, I should do that," that's just thinking. That's not doing. That doesn't change anything. What you do is take your thinking and then create a plan, create an action that you're going to do, and then you're really going to make a difference in your relationship. And of course, we're talking about how to reignite romance or preserve romance or reignite it in your relationship when you're a parent. So if you want more help with this, with reigniting your romance while parenting, contact me. And again, I'm Dr. Carol Henry, and here's my contact information. My best phone number is 206-390-5715. My best email is Dr. Carol J. Henry.com. DrCarolJHenry.com. So, one of the things that we could do after you contact me, you could schedule a call with me that we would talk about this, how to reignite your romance or any other one relationship issue. And we could also, if you want to, you could talk with me about how to work with me. And, then we would have much more time. Okay, that's it. And I hope you do one of these things. And I'd love to hear what you do and how it went. That would be great. If you could just email me or leave it in comments, direct message me on Facebook, any of the above. I'd love to hear about it. Okay, I will be back next week at this time, 1:00 p.m. Pacific on Wednesday. And have a good week and love well. And I hope you can reignite just a little bit, step by step, and you'll have it done. Okay, take care.